Okay, welcome back to the Vermihot worm bin. I am doing the 4th ever feeding today. Last time you saw me was, well, the last time I saw the bin was, I think, 9 days ago. I think it was a Thursday, 8, 9, 10 days ago. Today is a Sunday. I work at a florist doing floral arrangement deliveries, and so with this past weekend being Mother's Day weekend, I just was so extremely busy with work that I had not had a chance to check on the bin. So we're gonna go ahead and see how the bin is doing, check the health of the overall system, and give them some new food. And while I'm doing that, I want to talk to you about what I'm doing with all of the massive amounts of extra food that I have set aside for these guys, because I have, let me see if I could just show you. I have several gallon-sized Ziploc bags worth, split up between some Ziploc bags, some other reusable or like reused cottage cheese containers, things like that. I have so much food taking up a lot of space in my freezer, and because my worm population is growing relatively slowly because I started with so few worms, I'm estimating I started with anywhere between like 100 or 300 worms. Because I have so few, it's not sustainable for me to store all of that. So what I'm going to do is start a dedicated bokashi pre-composting system that can be pre-composted in the bokashi bucket and then fed to the worms. Now, the difference between this dedicated bin and my regular bokashi compost is that usually with bokashi compost you can put in things that you would not normally put into your traditional compost, such as dairy and meat and egg products. But that's not something that I would want to feed the worms, even if it was pre-composted. So I can't just take my regular bokashi compost and feed it to the worms because they would not like that. So what I'm going to do is set up a second bokashi bin. Oh, here, let's see. So last time we checked this to see what was going on with this. It's the outside netting is certified compostable, but that means it's compostable for hot composting, commercial composting. This is a tea bag, and it's made from plant fibers. However, just because it is certified commercial compostable doesn't mean worms will like it. So last time I ripped it open, and this time, I hope you can see that, there are a couple of worms hanging out in here. So I am going to actually just dump this out, and I will, oh, this guy is just kind of stuck in, there he goes. Dump that out, and they can feast on the tea without the tea bag in their place. And then these other paper-based tea bags, they also seem to be not really breaking down very well, but I'm going to leave them in because they are paper-based. Yeah, they don't seem to like that. Anyway, so back to what I was saying about the bokashi bins. I am going to set up a dedicated bokashi bin that I can put things like fruit and vegetable scraps that the worms can eat. Put it into a bokashi system. Once that bokashi bucket is filled, I can, yeah, I'm seeing a lot of worms. I love that now I can, there's more worms definitely than what I started with. I want to say like two months ago, a month and a half ago. So I can definitely see them more easily. And there's a lot of little young baby worms. So this one's not a baby, but it's quite young. So I love that it's a little bit more obvious and I can see the worms better. I'm Might give us a little bit of light here. Just because I think I might be standing in the light. So I'm going to set up that bokashi bin, and after 2 weeks, once I have filled it, it will be essentially the effective microorganisms that break down bokashi into a pre-compost that you can put into your regular compost or put in a hole in the ground. That's what most people do with it. It will be something that I can feed to the worms. It will be healthy for them, and it will be full of microorganisms that will have already started breaking down the food. I just need to have it set up to where there are not, oh yeah, we got lots of worms in here, to where there are not any undesirable type of food scraps. This is, I think, a pear or apple core, and it has several little baby worms hanging out in it. And then, let's see, what have we got here? So yeah, they've mostly made their way through a lot of, yeah, we've got lots of little babies. Lots of them. So my worms over the last, 10 or 11 days have definitely made their way through most of the food that I gave them, so I can give them a slightly bigger feeding this time. This is a tomato skin, I think. And yeah, so I'm going to give them a little bit bigger feeding than I did last time, and then I'm going to put the rest of the food that I had previously frozen and thawed out now to feed them. I'm going to put that in a bokashi bucket, and I probably will make a separate video for that. I have a different video on my channel that is all about the bokashi system setup and everything, but I'm going to make a separate video specifically about setting up one that is completely, I guess, like vegetarian for my worms. And that might be a short video, but I think I'll do that. There's so many of these eggshells that were in that scoop that my neighbor gave me when they gave me the scoop of worms. They did not have like pre-ground eggshell grit like I use. They just put like crushed eggshells, which are fine. They'll just take a lot longer in the system to break down, and they'll probably even still be in the system when I harvest the castings. They'll likely will still be some of these. Anyway, so I just kind of dug a hole right in the middle. This is where I'm going to feed them. I have some shredded cardboard and brown paper bag scraps. So let me just get a mix of those. I am most of the way through the brown paper bag shreds, but there's still some in there. And so I'm feeding cardboard, shredded cardboard, as a way to get rid of all of my boxes that come in the mail and everything, but also to give the worms a carbon source. They need that carbon source to help feed and be part of their diet, and create essentially their bedding to live in. I put it in dry because, especially today, all of the food that I'm giving them has been previously frozen, so the liquid seeps out of it really easily. This is just that pear or apple core that was left over from last time, and then those tea bags with the tea are just still mixed into their bedding now because it's just kind of indistinguishable, plus the paper from the tea bags essentially is a carbon source for their bedding. Speaking of which, I think that's one of those tea bags. So to start off, I am going to dig through this frozen bag and give them a couple of bananas because they like bananas quite a lot, it seems. And I didn't see, although there could still be some pieces of the peel, I didn't see any in there. So let me give them some banana. Give them two banana peels, and they'll eat this really fleshy part on the inside first, and then they'll eat the skins last. So I'll put those in there. And then I have been growing radishes in my garden. However, some of them have quite a bit of slug damage, and also some of them started to rot before I pulled them out of the ground. Like I said, I got really busy at work and kind of neglected everything. Also, I had this really lovely purple radish that had slug damage on the outside, so I thought I would peel it off so that it could still be eaten, and then when I cut into it, it was rotten. So my worms get to enjoy that pretty purple radish. I'm also going to put in another apple core and everything's still mostly frozen. That is okay. I think I'll leave my worm bin outside. It is warm outside today, so I'll leave it outside here on this workbench for a little while to help everything kind of warm up. And then I also have, what's in this bag? Is there anything different? Yeah. I think I have a lettuce stalk in one of these that I can give them. Oh, let me give them this bell pepper top. They like those, I think. And then this lettuce stalk they'll go through relatively quickly. So I'm going to put that there. And then if this is too cold for them to hang out in, which it will be for a little while as this thaws out, they'll just kind of hang out on the sides here. The sides of the bin. Let me just give them a little bit more room to hang out until they're ready to come into this area. So while this completely thaws out, the liquid will seep into that cardboard and make it wet, and the food will kind of start to break down and the worms will find their way into the middle here. I think what I will do is put a bit of extra eggshell grit on the outside and the top after I cover it up, just to give them something to enjoy more quickly. Like I said, I do have a lot of food, so I have 2 of those full Ziploc bags, and I have several of these yogurt containers full of food. This was an apple that was rotten when I cut into it, so I have that. But yeah, I have so much that I just need to start putting it somewhere. They like carrots, so I'm going to give them these carrot tops. But everything that I put in the bokashi compost system, it's just pre-compost. It will come back to them. They'll get to eat it just after it's been kind of fully inoculated by the effective microorganisms. Oh, and I have one more thing that I want to put in here, but I might put it back in the freezer and save till next time. My husband did end up getting me a bouquet of flowers for Mother's Day, and so because he bought it wrapped instead of in a vase, I had to trim it down to arrange it in the vase. So I have a lot of these flower stalks and leaves, but I might wait to put these in next time without pre-composting them in the bokashi system. So I will set that aside for that. Now, I did put some potato skins in last time, but I did not see anything that was recognizably potato skins when I was going through this. So I might put some more in, but this is already a pretty large feeding. But like I said, I have so much of this extra food. We've been eating those radishes. So all of this is going to go into that bokashi system, and I will show you that in the separate video so that I can kind of cover how I set that up. Okay, and because this is so wet and you can never have too much carbon source in here, I am going to top it off with some more shredded cardboard. Also, because of this new job, it should calm down now that Mother's Day is over. Well, today is Mother's Day as I film, but now that the work Mother's Day is over, it should calm down. But it's still new, so I'm want to make sure that this is set up so that if I can't get in here for another 2 weeks, that my worms will be happy. Okay. And I am going to just give them a big dose of eggshell grit and cover them up, cover this up. And if I find any worms as I'm covering this up in the bedding, I am going to just put them back to the sides because I don't want them to be upset at how cold it is. Although I'm sure they will be fine either way. Oh, here's the potato skins. There we go. There's all those potato skins from last time. So they're very thin and kind of almost brittle looking now. Yeah, so they definitely liked to eat the potatoes, and the skins themselves will just take longer to break down. Well, good. I'm glad I found those because I really felt like it was kind of weird that they would have eaten all of the potato, including the skins, so quickly. Okay. And that is everything. So I'm gonna just smooth this out a little bit. I know we got a kind of lump in the middle where everything piled up there. And give them a little bit of extra grit on the top. Not that they really need it, but it gives them something to munch on while they're on the sides here. And then last time I did put some extra carbon on the edges. I'm not totally sure that that was that effective doing anything, but I have a hypothesis that I'm not entirely sure how to test, that because this is dry on top, until it the lid collects condensation and kind of essentially drops it back down on here, these will just stay dry. And because the worms don't want to be in dry bedding, they won't maybe migrate up into the lid very easily because they won't want to crawl the sides. I don't know. I'm not sure how true that might be, but there we go. Anyways, it will get dampened, especially because there's so much moisture content in here. All of that will essentially start evaporating up into the lid, which, if you haven't seen before, it looks like this. And so this is quite wet. There's even a worm up here. Hey buddy. He's trying to work his way down in there. There you go. I think he was getting stuck between the edges there. There. Now he's just up in the lid, and that's okay. But yeah, this collects that moisture, and then it falls back down onto here. So that is everything for my vermihut worm tower for their 4th feeding. It's kind of a big feeding, but that's okay. And I will see you in the next video, which should be setting up that bokashi with all this frozen fruits and vegetables that the worms can enjoy like a month from now. And that will be a fun experiment to see how they like that pre-fermented food. Oh, there's one more thing I wanted to add in here. I have this dead wasp that I found inside of our freezer. I think it must have gotten into our freezer, our chest freezer in our garage, and died because it couldn't get out. So I found it kind of on the ledge area of the freezer, right under where the seal is. So I am going to, this is definitely fully dead. After I found it, I put it out on my potting bench, and it's been sitting here for a couple weeks. So I'm gonna just put it in my system and hope that the microorganisms and the worms will help it break down and just return to the earth. I'm sure it would do the same thing if I just put it, oh, this is backwards, if I just put it on the ground outside, but I think it'll be fun to just have it in the system. Okay, thank you for watching. I'll see you in my next video.